Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's June 14th of 2021. It's 6:32 a.m. in the morning. And like I said, we're in Dallas, no, we're in Fort Worth, Texas. It's 79 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Um, it's going to get to 97 today. I just got this on my cell phone. I'm sure that many of you get messages like this all the time. I'm not sure how long this blue alert thing has been going on. In fact, I guess I never paid any attention before. This says, by the way, public safety message. DPS has issued a blue alert on behalf of Wise County Sheriff's Office for, and then it gives information on an individual who's 43 years of age. So anyway, I thought this was an Amber Alert. The Amber Alert, I'm sure you know about, is when a child is missing or abducted or something like that, and it goes out on cell phones, and I'm not sure, maybe some other ways. Well, I think television stations, would probably sometimes pop up a message or something. Anyway, so I thought this. uh, I thought this was an Amber Alert. But it said, well, when I saw the age, 43 years of age, I thought, well, then I was thinking maybe that's somebody who has Alzheimer's and has wandered off, but then I looked at it, and then I did a little search here on the internet. So what is a blue alert, and why did the phone just go off? It says here you've heard of silver alerts and you've heard of amber alerts. What is a blue alert? And this says Texas, USA. A law enforcement agency searches for a suspect accused of killing okay, so this is, now according to the DPS, the criteria, the reasons for allowing for a blue alert to be made is: 1, a law enforcement officer must have been killed or seriously injured by an offender. 2, the investigating law enforcement agency must determine that the offender poses a serious risk or a threat to the public and other law enforcement personnel. 3, a detailed description of the offender's vehicle, vehicle tag, or partial tag must be available for broadcast to the public. And last, the investigating law enforcement agency or jurisdiction must recommend activation of the blue alert to the Texas Department of Public Safety. And it says here, Texas is one of 34 states that currently has the system in place. Okay. So now I know what the blue alert is. For this one, there's no point in me passing this information, but, not that many people will watch my videos, and but just so you have an idea, here's the Sheriff's Department that has issued the blue alert. I wonder if, let's see, Wise County, Texas. Let's see. Physical address is Decatur, Texas. Here's their phone number, their fax number. Wise County elections, tax information, career, notification. Looks like it's, pretty small. Let's see. Tax information, I guess, would tell us something, but it's kind of, I wonder how many officers they have. Let's see here. Administration, animal control, crime map. If they show the, they might have almost, well, very little crime. Like I said, I'm in the Fort Worth area. There is a police, probably more than one, but there's a police department here, not the Fort Worth Police Department and not the Dallas Police Department, but there's another police department which is in like a 1 mile square. It's unbelievably small area, but it has a Walmart, it has a shop, it has shopping malls, it is just, and they rake in a ton of money, tax money, coming into that small police department. And I mentioned in one of my videos a little bit, I think, about, not by name, but I mentioned, I think, about it, told the story. In other words, a bunch of assholes and pricks. Maybe not all of them. I didn't have any contact. Somebody I know got arrested by them. Oh, and I looked up their site. I'm not talking about Wise County, by the way, here. I looked up that police department site, and it had the number of arrests they had made and what they were for and that type of stuff. And about all they do is give traffic tickets, a lot of traffic tickets. A lot of traffic tickets. And a bunch of, they're called a bunch of times by security at these, Walmarts and places like that make arrests for shoplifting or whatever. That's it. That's their, and so anyway, this is a county, and I was a reserve officer for a very small police department. I patrolled for 10 or 15 years, one night a week. And then, of course, they asked me occasionally to come in, and they would pay me to, for the day, do the day shift or something, really, because they needed. When I started out, there wasn't any full-time. Well, there was a chief of police who was elected. I'm not sure he was called the chief of police. Anyway, he was elected by the people. And then, as I was going through the training and orientation and everything, the chief of police changed it so that he was appointed by the city council or whatever. And he was a really nice, well, the first guy, I didn't know him all that long. The chief of police seemed like a really nice guy. But, let's see, was this, I think Lee Coleman was the name, I believe, of the chief of police. Was that it, or was that, I've had so many directors of security and chiefs of police, and he was a really nice guy. He was a retired Kansas City, Missouri police sergeant. And how did I get sidetracked on that? So that explains what a blue alert is, and we know what the, I bet you that one, what they mentioned, silver. I bet that's for elderly people like that have Alzheimer's or something like that. It says down here.
The McCullough House in Waco greeted visitors for a Flag Day event today. 6 News reporter Matt Lively spoke to some who hold the holiday close to their hearts.
What in the hell?
June 14th.
I don't even, oh, here it is up here to stop it. God damn it. Sorry about that. Okay, silver alert. Okay, I bet that is for like somebody that has Alzheimer's or something. Silver alert. Well, I guess I'll click on here where it says Fort Worth, but it, you know, it's a national, but maybe let's see what they have here. Yeah, because here, March 5th of 2021. Yeah. Okay, that's what that is. So, so there's silver alert, amber alert, and now we have blue alert. I worked at a hospital security for 30 years. And of course the hospital has codes. Now it will, some of those are pretty, you know, universal. And some of them are not. I'm sure you've maybe been in a hospital and maybe heard code blue. A lot of hospitals use that. I think all of the hospitals that I worked at used code blue, and I worked at, I don't know how many, bunch. And that's when, you know, someone's heart or breathing stops or something like that, and they page beep, beep, beep. They might do it in a different way. You know, beep, beep, beep. You know, code blue. Room 203. You know, beep, beep, beep. You know, code blue. ICU. And the hospitals each have, probably they're more sort of standardized, but there is a way that, you know, it's like at one hospital, I worked at Trinity Lutheran Hospital, and it was, you know, when a code blue was announced, I think the ER doctor was supposed to respond. That might have been just at night when well, anyway, a doctor responds. You know, the nurses respond, and of course the nurses would be responding, you know, on that, whatever unit it was. So you have a doctor, you have the nurses respond, and you have, they might be called something different in, you know, like when I started hospital security, there wasn't any respiratory therapy or whatever. There was, so I don't think she was even on the list, you know. She was like the person that hooked people up to oxygen. But later, the respiratory therapy department became more than that. It became a lot. In fact, when I worked at Trinity Lutheran Hospital, they had a guy who really upgraded their respiratory therapy department. Now the problem there, they had to put that in the, you know, of course you have, so let's say Trinity Lutheran Hospital, you know, code blue, doctor responds, you know, nurses respond, Um, uh, Respiratory therapy responds, security responds, and then a nursing supervisor or director or something like that. And that's the order. And the reason for now security always responds. Um, and the reason at Trinity for security to respond, was the reasons you'd expect, make sure to get the family out of there, make sure the family's not going to bust in there, and whatever. But the other one of the main reasons it turned out was that I had to, when I was the security officer responding, I had to keep some of the respiratory therapy people from going in because they're in the room. There wasn't much room to be doing what they needed to do, and all the respiratory therapy people seemed to all be young, and they all came pounding down there, and they all wanted to jump in and do chest compressions or something, and had to say no. There's two, going back. I never had somebody that it could have come up. I never had anybody say. They would just say, "Oh, okay." Maybe they stood outside for a little bit, But and then, of course, also there at Trinity, the EKG machine, portable EKG machine. I remember having to unlock the door so that the nurse or cardio could get in to get the machine. When I worked at Trinity Lutheran Hospital, I think at Trinity actually, heart cath lab, they would page heart cath lab and security would go, but we didn't need to go, we just needed to go to, there, and didn't need to go into the room because they were doing a heart cath on somebody, and they had everybody. I think they had everybody. Well, of course, they would be glad to get, more help, but they didn't need security. But I heard heart cath lab so many times on Code Blues. That many years later, I had to have a heart cath done on me. And a heart cath is where they take you to the operating room. It'd be the heart cath lab, but it looks, you go in there, like, okay, I'll tell you. I went in, So I go in, I'm on the cart. They brought me from my room. I go in and it looks sort of like a morgue, stainless steel equipment and coal and but I was a little bit concerned because I had heard Code Blue heart cath lab at Trinity so many times. But they didn't really need a ton of people. They had basically they have the people they need. But like I said, I'm sure they could use. There'd be somebody else that they could do. But I had to have a heart cath done in Miami, Florida, and what they do is they go in to your artery in your thigh, and they go up with a tube that has, a camera attached and everything. There might be too that they could do a little. Might be a little. They could do a little something, but they go in with the camera attached. They go up and they go all the way through, up, and then they look around with the camera and they see if your arteries are clogged up. They can see if I guess the valves are working properly, and I don't know what all they can do. I had to sign, and I'm not just me, but everybody I'm sure has to sign. Well, they're not going to make you sign, but so I signed. They thought for sure that they were going to have to do angioplasty, and that's where they go up through the leg and with the camera, and then they send a balloon through there to clean out the junk that's that's clogging up your arteries or something like that. I'm sure I'm not medical. I mean, if I'm a little bit off, okay. And things have probably changed a lot. I don't know. Now they might send a little tiny robot up through there and I need to clean this, and I need to shine up this valve here. Now I don't know, but so I had to sign in Miami that. So when I woke up, the heart doctor who was doing this, in the heart cath lab or the whatever room they used. When I woke up, I had to sign, of course, that before I went into the room, had to sign that yes, you can make it if it needs doctor, if you need to go in there, I'm signing all. Yes, I agree to this, and that's what I had to do. So when I woke up, the heart doctor was there, and he said, Jim, everything is okay. We didn't have to do anything. Your arteries are not clogged up. The valves are working okay, and everything's fine. So that was a surprise to me. But by the way, for that procedure that I had done, I don't know if this is funny or this is sad or if this is somebody making a nurse trying to be funny and humorous, and maybe I have somebody who enjoys humor, especially little things of not telling joke. I can't tell a joke. Can't remember. If I try to tell you any kind of a joke, I would get it wrong. Then I'd have to say, oh, wait a minute, how come that's not funny? Oh, no, it was a priest and a rabbi and a Baptist minister that went into the bar with the kangaroo, or, whatever, it'd be messed up, But I'm really good at one-liners, although they're not all the time understood, and I do them anyway, or did them anyway. But when I went into the heart cath lab, I'm wondering if maybe sometimes they give you the med to knock you out or whatever in the room before they take you down or up or wherever it is, Going to vary from hospital to hospital. But so they wheel me in naked but with a sheet over me, And then they pull the sheet off, and then the nurse says something to the effect, I can't remember exactly now, but something to that, I'll get a little something to cover that with, meaning my penis and my testicles. And she came back with, I don't know, a small washcloth or something like that. I really wouldn't have cared, that nudity doesn't, I wouldn't have cared. But I think she was trying to make a joke, and but I was a little bit concerned, not about that, but other things, or I would have tried to come up and, but then they gave me the thing, that knocked me out. If that was like a thing that she said, that maybe she thought I had been medicated and wouldn't remember anything, then that's kind of, bad if that's your joke, but, and, what else? Okay, since we're on this subject, and how we got on it, I don't know. See, do I want to do a search for what was the, I just had it on my head what it's called, angioplasty. Well, that's it. At this one hospital that I worked at, I was well, I had held different, in security, different. I was just a security officer working there. Then I was a supervisor on the second shift for years, and I was a supervisor on the day shift for years. And when I was day shift supervisor, I was the fire marshal. I did I didn't do the entire orientation for all new employees on Mondays. I did the part having to deal with parking and getting a parking permit and different codes, Dr. Red, Code Blue, Code Gray, this type of stuff. The hospital, when I worked at Trinity, a nice hospital, and there was, the hospital, one of our parking lots, a little street, and the other side was St. Mary's Hospital. So there was two hospitals just, right next to each other. The hospital that I worked at, Trinity, they did open heart surgery. And St. Mary's Hospital didn't do open heart surgery, and I'm sure or whoever, maybe there was an agency that, I know for a while there was an agency that the government insisted on each city or place having a group that would decide, can a hospital add more patient beds? Can a hospital add a CAT scanner? Or different things, because trying to hold down cost, which I don't think it ever worked, because their hospitals they're gonna work around the thing, these agencies decided too many surgeries were being done in the hospital, and it's costing way too much, and it could be done someplace else. So all of the hospitals opened up built their own surgical centers that were off of the hospital property, like right next to it sometime, Okay, hospital corporation here, a little vacant street here or something, or a tree or some trees or whatever, and this property over here is not hospital property, and we build our surgical center there. And then it was with the dialysis centers, the hospital, like when I worked at Menorah Hospital, right, I guess it was supposed to be part of, but I think they decided, change, but they had a dialysis center, and every day people pulled up, and let out there, or they would come by, like a school buses, not like a school bus, but something different. And those people would go in and be hooked up to the dialysis machine for hours or whatever, having their blood pumped out, run through a filter, and then going back into them. And so, that was one of the things that the government decided, or these agencies decided. Wasn't exactly the government, but the government specified, they had that. And so the hospitals were just making tons and tons of money on this dialysis, so they decided, they're making a lot of money. And so they decided that, okay, in order to, it has to be done, so the hospital set up, dialysis centers. It just went on and on like that. You're not going to win. So anyway, I was day shift supervisor at Trinity Lutheran Hospital and St. Mary's Hospital, and that hospital, Trinity, did open heart surgery. St. Joseph Hospital, okay, but there was something new, at least new for Kansas City, and I guess new, and that was angioplasty, putting a thing in, going up through your artery into your, and cleaning out the gook or whatever. And so that's what St. Mary's Hospital was going to do. Now, in order to do that, of course, they had to get the doctors and people trained and all this kind of stuff. And so when they got to the point now, okay, now we're ready to take patients. But I mean, the first few patients, were only, so the deal was that St. Mary's had to, the patient who was going to have the first few patients, I forget what the number was, maybe 10, not 10 at one time, let's say it's 10. I'm not sure how many it was. But they decided, okay, the patient that's going into St. Mary's to have this angioplasty done, that was the first in Kansas City, Missouri area. The first hospital to do it was St. Mary's Hospital. So that patient had to be admitted to, of course, St. Mary's Hospital. And that patient had to be admitted at the same time to Trinity Lutheran Hospital. And Trinity Lutheran, because Trinity Lutheran did, and so Trinity Lutheran Hospital had to have the patient admitted and had to have an operating room standing by, not being used at that time, with a heart surgeon and all of the people there ready to do heart surgery. And the patient was, of course, admitted to St. Mary's to have the heart cath procedure done. And there had to be an ambulance crew standing by at St. Mary's Hospital, ready, which I don't think would have worked. They never used it. They had to have the ambulance standing by with the crew to transport that patient, to take that patient out of the heart cath lab, put in the ambulance, and send to Trinity Lutheran Hospital to be put into the cardiac surgery operating room. So the director of security came to me and said, Jim, you need to come up with a code that we'll use to broadcast over the public address system. And then, of course, it would also be put out over the security radio, at the same time, so that you and the security officers that I supervised on the day shift and even the parking lot attendants, if it had got to that point, they would have to have known about it too, because I was in charge of 7 of them that were out there. And so anyway, I came up with my thought, and I came up with blanket blue. And because there had been, it wasn't used anymore, there was a blue blanket that was public address when an ambulance was coming in or something, and they had a patient on board that was like a code blue patient, the ambulance was coming in. They used to do, I think that was before my time, the public address system would announce blue blanket. Blanket blue, I think. That's the one I picked. But anyway, blue blanket. Whatever one I picked, I switched them around. And the hospital had, it wasn't special, meetings. Oh my God. That was my recommendation, and there were several meetings held, and that was discussed, is that the page that we should have on the public address, is that the one? While they're, security has to, they have to have these meetings, board of directors, board of trustees, all those whatever kind of meeting you go to the room, and they've had lobster, they've had, that stuff. They have these meetings, and they Okay, you know what the heck. Everybody's entitled to a little perk. Well, not everybody, but. So anyway, they had to decide on it. And so, anyway, St. Mary's Hospital did X number of those. And then at that point, they never had a problem. Oh, what's the reason for security having is, the hospital was right next to us, but so you're talking about to get to the emergency, three blocks or something. But we had to, you had to make sure that they could get, into the hospital, into the emergency drive and all that, and stuff. But we never had to do that. Okay. What have I? Let's see. The pages. Anything else? I think I'm going to end it there because I'll end up in some other some other thing, and I'll probably make another video today because I have a subject I want to talk about. I'm not sure how to work out, but well, I'll give you a tip. It's going to be sort of on grievances and stuff like that. If you work someplace, using a grievance procedure if you have one. You probably don't have one unless you have a union, stuff like that. But I want to, because I've gone through the grievance procedure working at hospitals, and I'll just, okay, that's going to be the next subject, I think, later today, unless I just decide, no, I don't want to do it, so, but, so anyway, thank you very much for watching.